I can't believe you don't know this story. You're such a millennial. That's like a banger. Chicken Little story. You don't know that? Do you know?
The fact that you're using banger in your everyday vernacular now, Rich, you can't talk to me about
I'm
that.
just speaking your language, which is
that's
honest,
Gen Z stuff. Mine would have been like, oh man, that's rad.
No, I was rad. Rad was 80s.
I was late 80s, early 90s.
No. Don't try to come into my gen.
Welcome to the show, where air takes the floor. Lee and Rich on the mic.
Welcome to the AI Guys podcast, where we make artificial intelligence easy to understand for everyone. I'm your host, Lee Dixon, and as always, I'm joined by the guy who still expenses his Netflix subscription as SaaS, Rich Swire. How you doing, buddy?
I canceled that.
Did you finally? You gutted it. My man.
Yeah, you just got to, get rid of them all.
Yeah, we've slowly got rid of all of the stream when it became like it was costing way too much and you don't watch any of it. So we're actually talking about SaaS fat today. We're going to be trying to help people slim down on their software stack. I
like that.
How is that for you?
I like
SaaS
that. That's
fat.
pretty good. You should coin that. Yeah.
SaaS fat. I just want that on a big motivational poster behind me. It's like a cat holding on. Yeah. But I think this is a topic we've touched on. We've absolutely dunked on some companies over the years, that are in the SaaS space that just kind of go so hard on how they bloat and, people's budgets. So I figured today, let's not hold back the punches and go right into maybe what the SaaS sprawl problem is inside of how businesses are really overspending on a lot of things, and where AI, I think, is going to disrupt a lot of that in the coming, 6 to 12 months for them.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of, what's interesting is history does typically repeat itself, or at least rhyme. And I don't know, the entry of SaaS kind of started with, in a few different ways, but the big person like Mark Benioff, who's like the CEO of Salesforce, was the one who kind of came out with this, before SaaS, it was like CDs, these are like,
and like SAP, like SAP and stuff too.
I want to describe it to your generation, but it's like a round disk that held information. You put it in, anyway.
You act like I'm 20 years old, Rich. I know what a CD is.
Okay, good. So when you think about, and so his famous thing, it used to be a logo that had a big red, cross through it that said, and that had the word software, because what his pitch was, hey, we don't want software. They're charging these massive maintenance and install fees. You'd have to pay all this money up front. You'd have to pay for every upgrade, and you have to install it, make sure, you get this new, and it's a whole pain in the butt. And you're not getting, and you're having a hard time, you can't really get new features that easily. And you have millions of different machines you have to install it on. So like, what a nightmare. And you have this massive IT bloat. Okay. Fast forward 30 years, we're essentially in the same situation, but now we have that big red cross through and it says SaaS in there. And the reason why is because, software as a service at the end of the day means that it is driven off of seats, right? How many people are logging into your product, and you charge, let's say $30, $40, $50, $100 per seat. And that's kind of the value. That's the business model. Yeah. And they've really gone, all in with that model. And what it does require, it requires a human to be in front of a computer entering in data into some sort of glorified database, which is what most SaaS products are.
Yeah, duplicate tools and like overlapping features are another thing too. So like you were saying, kind of on like the shadow IT side, people are like, let me buy this, and then it never gets adopted, and one person uses it, but they're paying for seats for 20 people, and then it's like, well, we don't know about it, so who cares? And then it just all starts to stack.
Yeah, and then like 15 years ago, when SaaS became kind of like the mainstream, that everybody was going SaaS, and that was the entry of the cloud computing as well. So that even doubled down on like this idea of, I'm totally okay with my entire infrastructure, not just the software that I use, but everything being on the cloud. So with that movement, you started to see a huge sprawl, of all types of SaaS products. So now companies have one SaaS product that does this, one SaaS, and some companies, if they're big enough, has 3 SaaS products to do the same thing. And that just because they like this UI better, or maybe this other one has this one feature, or maybe this other one, whatever reasoning. And you get to this point where you start subscribing, and you wake up one day and you go, man, we're spending quite a bit of money on software for seats that aren't necessarily being used, right? And in many cases, it's like, okay, we're going to sell you, 50 seats of HubSpot because you have 50 people in your company. And then, you wake up one day and only 10 people are actually logging in. And you're like, why do I have all these seats, right? But
less, because they're just operating in spreadsheets anyways. So.
Right. Exactly. We always kind of de facto back to that. And so, what we are sitting on today is essentially a multi-trillion-dollar market where you have people who are paying for software that are probably getting 20 to 25% of value that they think or thought they would get, and most likely causing more pain and headache for their day-to-day business than actually solving problems. And it ends up it ends up creating jobs, or at least making your job, and for the most part, just data entry, right? And that's the frustrating thing about a lot of these SaaS products is, okay, great, I'm putting all this information in here. I'm typing somebody's name in. I'm typing all their information in. I'm typing these, what's going on, these meetings, these projects. I'm using all these products, but what am I getting in return? Am all I'm getting is just like a summary report that I have to end up exporting into Excel for me to really use? Or am all I'm getting is kind of like a really cool update? Or is it just note taker? Like, what is the expectation? And the brilliant thing the SaaS companies did is they never really set expectations. There's no line in the sand that says, this is what it means to be optimal and to be working. I mean, basically they're like, oh, did you put in did you type in something, you hit save and is it there? Yeah. Oh, okay. We've done our job. Thanks.
Yeah. It's optimal. We're good.
Give me $100,000. I'm going to go now. And,
it didn't. Well, then I need money to fix that for you.
Exactly. Go, you want it to be integrated into your business, or you want it to be customized? Okay. Well, get the checkbook out, or get your Venmo account out, for your generation, and start writing big checks.
Get out Cash App. Yeah.
Get out your Cash App. So, what happens is that pent up, and I might show it more than most, but that pent up energy and anger, I wouldn't call it anger, but sometimes it is, of and more
disdain.
About distraughtness, disdain, like real harsh hatred that you start looking for other better solutions. And that's another reason why people go from one SaaS to another, is because maybe this one's different. But the reality is that you have to really kind of look at this world and go, all right, what is the outcome that I'm getting? Forget about the tools. I think one of the things that people, for whatever reason, in the last 20 years, people stopped asking why, and they just assume this is the way it is, and this is the way it always will be. Like, it's almost like we forgot to ask in the software world, it's like,
do I need this? Someone just tells you need it, and you're like, well, I guess I do.
Exactly. So, because we're not asking the hard question, why does this exist? Why are we using it? What is the outcome? People just kind of default to, I guess this is just the way it is. I'll get yelled at, or whatever it might be. So enter AI, you start to see cracks in the wall. You start to go, okay, wait a minute. This AI stuff can do a lot when it comes to, understanding my business, understanding how my business operates, what data it needs. And it doesn't need to be in this fancy database. It could be through a human user interface. I could simply chat with it or talk with it.
Yeah.
And it can start to really provide me a tremendous amount of value. Like, I think the asymmetry of ChatGPT versus Salesforce, it couldn't be more night and day.
Sure.
Like, I go into ChatGPT and I say, take a picture of my fridge, and I say, give me a recipe to cook tonight, and it gives me an entire recipe. I go into ChatGPT and say, hey, I was thinking about writing a blog about how much Salesforce sucks, and it will write a full blog about it, right? And I don't have to try.
And then turn it into a podcast.
I do quite often. Then I convert that into a podcast. You go into Salesforce. And if you're lucky enough to get past the login, you go in there and you get a full screen, and you have to scroll maybe even further, of fields that you have to sit there and enter in, right? I'm going to enter in this field, enter this field, enter this field, and hit save. And what do you get? Nothing. Not even an attaboy, So yes, maybe somewhere that data is saved in some database that maybe somewhere down the line, especially if you're a big corporation,
someone might use.
It might pull out of a report and say, of course, there's always value in a database, but is it worth $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, in some cases millions of dollars a year, to just have like a data entry? And that is going to be the question of this decade, is that you're going to start to see SaaS companies put under pressure for two primary vectors of pressure. One is going to be, I need you guys to do way more than what you've been doing. You have all this data now. Now turn it into this fantastic ROI that you promised now that you have AI. But that's a wholesale change and a wholesale way of thinking.
Yeah, it's a complete mental shift for the business and what they need to do.
And it's going to require these guys, and they're battleships. It's going to require them a tremendous amount of time and energy to do that. And also it conflicts with their core business model, which is the second vector, is that they're charging you per seat for the most part, right? And so they're sitting there going, well, shoot, if I advance and I start building AI and I start automating things, which is what AI does, right? I can automate this, I can automate that, I can automate that. The next logical thing is, oh, thanks for automating that ability to ingest my support tickets and answer them for my customers automatically. So I guess I don't need so many seat licenses
this
anymore
is super interesting too, because I know you and I talked about it off the pod, and it's kind of what spurred our thought on this. Like, anybody that is currently on a contract with any piece of software that has seat licensing, find out when that is up for renewal, and give your team, whether you use a third party like us here at Raya, to say like, hey, what of this could be automated? Or if you guys are using tools internally, say like, hey, if we're already using X, how many people do we not need to renew on Salesforce, or, insert CRM here? Because that's our now dev budget to go and build out more of this stuff. Because there's no reason you just keep it status quo.
I don't know who's listening. I hope it's not, Salesforce.
All 500,000 people.
But but if you have a SaaS product, and you're paying seat licensing for your support reps, I'll give you one use case.
Great. Yeah.
I could say within 6 months to a year, if you start planning now, and maybe even quicker if you're a smaller company, that you can eliminate all seat licenses except for one for your support team.
Yeah.
And simply embrace AI, and AI can connect to your CRM or whatever it is that you're using via an API. And so basically, because what you don't need to log in to those systems anymore, you might just need one, so that maybe this is the person at the top that is managing all of this and is able to see it visually. But you don't need all your support reps logging in there, because you don't need access to the support tickets anymore. AI is going to have all that, because everything is shifting to the AI. It's no longer going to be in a fixed knowledge-based database inside of Service Desk, inside of Zendesk, inside of whatever tools you have. It's all going to move to a vector store, an LLM.
Yeah. That'll be the source of truth for domain knowledge.
Yeah. Yep. And that can be all done through API. That can be extracted literally in days. And then now your support team can just use the AI, or you can have the AI do all your support. But so, I can, you can save hundreds, if not thousands, and potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars by simply just taking that leap of faith. And what is the risk? You can always upgrade back. It's not like they're not going to take your money, right? But you're coming up on a contract, and so just tell them, hey man, we're planning on not needing those seats, right? And we're just gonna build out an AI agent, and that's going to be handling our support, and then we're going to have all our knowledge base inside of that vector store, and we don't need our support reps logging in. We're just going to create tickets and extract tickets through the API. You can always upgrade, if you make a mistake and a week later you want to get more seats, it's super easy.
Yeah.
For the most
it's the whole reason of doing this audit ahead of time too, is like you're learning what you don't know, so it's not mission critical. And if there's overlaps or there's other things you can be doing, you're not then saying like, oh shoot, we really made a mistake, like get back on it. The
second reason why you want to do it is because, and this is more long-term, but the most valuable asset you will have as a company in 5 to 10 years, I used to say this in 94, I said the most valuable asset you're going to have in a company.
Back when soda was a nickel, Rich? Really?
When soda pop was a nickel.
Yeah, we were down playing jacks by the fountain. Like, don't give me any of this nonsense.
Me and Jimmy. When I was a young man, and I was going around telling people about websites and HTTP:// they would look at me like I was nuts.
You sound nuts now, and I know what you're talking about.
Just like now, just like how the people are looking at me now. And I would say to them, your domain name and your website will be the most valuable asset of your company in 5 to 10 years. And it's no different here. And I'm even more certain about this statement, is that your AI model, your AI, what you train, that information that you extract from all these SaaS products into one central place. Doesn't that feel good? Like when you say that, like get all of your knowledge and your intelligence of your business out of these other products. And I'm not saying stop using those products necessarily. I'm just saying don't let them own your intelligence. Because right now, all of your intelligence lives behind a seat licensing gate with some third party, and you're not getting any value out of it.
No.
I mean, these guys are billion-dollar companies, and their products suck. Like, they're horrible, and there's no excuse for it. And the only excuse they have, and I give them credit for this, is that nobody cares. Nobody's like,
you're gonna pay us. So
nobody's
why does
outside
it
of the
matter?
wall with a pitchfork, and nobody's canceling because so. But I do think AI is going to put pressure on them to make those shifts and make those changes. But you know what's going to happen? That for those people out there, they're probably like, "Oh, don't worry about it, Rich. Salesforce, they're smart. They've got Agentforce. They're coming. HubSpot. They're coming out with Agent.com, or these guys are cool. I mean, they're from the Valley. They're going to figure this all out. Sure, but that just means they're going to charge you more for seat licensing.
Yeah, and it's still at the end of the day, it's SaaS bloat that doesn't grow with you. Like, it just holds you back more.
And nobody's going to say in the negotiation, like, well, why am I paying seat licenses for an AI that doesn't have a seat, right?
Yeah.
And I don't really, and why do I need 20 support seat licenses if you're telling me that you're going to agentify my support side? Don't maybe I need 4 for when escalations happen, but these 15 people here, they can use the interface to AI. They don't really need to be inside of the product. So,
but that's the other piece too. Having that interface inside of this space, right, is that control and that moat that they want. Because if they have it, then you're still stuck there. So being able to unchain it from all of this stuff and give it, autonomy outside of that garden. And we talked about this before, but like, that is really the power that you have here with AI.
At a minimum, you should have ownership and maintain and have control over your models. That they should be in a place where you can maintain. And you're going to still have to work with a company to do that. Not everybody has the capability and the technical wherewithal to do that. But there's a big difference between being locked behind a seat licensing agreement where you don't have ownership or control or granular capabilities versus like working like with us where we don't have seat licensing and you have full control of your system and we're a partner in how you use that. Now, I'll even take it one step further, which is another reason why I think SaaS is going to be extraordinarily tough. Especially the horizontal SaaS players that don't do anything of value outside of just providing like what I would think is a glorified entry into databases, which is now with application development, we're starting to see, code and AI generate full applications. And it's only going to be a matter of months where we start seeing AI generated clones of all these different applications we know and love. And I say that sarcastically because I don't know them and I don't love them really. So the point is, as these kind of start to peek into the framework of options and we go, well, wow, they just generated a HubSpot over here in AI.
Yeah.
And
I just bought bootleg Salesforce. It's just like Salesforce,
Right. And AI kind of is, and I can continue to build on it with AI. See, this is the thing that this is the mind blowing shift because people would say like, oh, Rich, what's the difference between that and open source? Well, open source is still very much protected behind licensing. Most open source products still charge you to use it. You can't just willy nilly change it unless you're like a very sophisticated developer. You want to invest in that, but then why would you want to invest in something that you don't own? Right. So open source has that kind of flawed. Now, granted, it contributes a great deal to the software community and to the innovation curve. But when you're talking about, ownership again, it's hard to kind of put your eggs in a basket that is that. That's why people still pay a lot of money for products like we're talking about. But here's the mind-blowing component of this. The difference between AI generated code, and that might even be available to you as open source or provided to you in source code, or allow you to basically add on to something using the same AI models, is now you actually not only do you have control over it, or ability to build or have that same functionality that you would have today, but now you have the AI that you can basically prompt and continue to add features. So I would compare it to, for example, like in Salesforce, you can go in there and you can create custom objects, you can create custom tables, which is what most people have to do anyway because the baseline product is crap. So you end up basically customizing it. And that's why you can't leave, right? That's how they get you. They're like, oh yeah, customize it. And they're like in the background going, oh, they don't know what they're doing. Right. And they're like, they'll never be able to quit now. And so now
need us. Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to, So
we'll teach one guy inside that company what to do and he still needs us. And the minute he leaves, they're effed,
Right. But over here with AI, you're saying, okay, well, wow, I get this really cool product, but now in AI, I can prompt it and say, do this, make it this, change this. And you can actually have a massive impact on the product without having a development team really.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing this shift from like, okay, vendor lock-in to this idea of like, oh man, the ownership changes. Now I'm controlling my products and ownership of this, and AI is kind of unlocking that. And I think that's the most exciting component about the future of products and software. And of course, there's always going to be companies that provide software. It's not going to be all, there's a reason why they exist. But I do think it's going to be very difficult for legacy software companies to make that leap of faith, because it's going to require them to reimagine their model. No different than how the software companies made the leap from CD to SaaS. Microsoft, it took them a while. But remember, Microsoft was the leader of software. And then out of nowhere, Google came out with Google Workspace. And out of nowhere, Salesforce came out with CRMs, even though Microsoft had a CRM too. So that they gave up trillions of dollars of market because they were a little bit slow on the pole. And this is the same thing is going to happen here. And even more so because AI is going to accelerate.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rich, just to wrap it up, I mean, this episode has been fire. No cap. Does that help?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Neither do I. And that's not my generation. So I want to make sure we end on that. And
Baxter, I don't speak Spanish.
Oh, one more feral throughout.
I know, but that was from last episode. So
it works. It carries over.
Only the hardcore fans will be like, oh, I got one in there.
Yeah. Only the other AI guys that listen.
Exactly.
Well, hey, everybody. Thanks again for joining us on this episode. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to stay in touch. Also, check out our Substack for more content, which will be linked to this episode to continue this discussion. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care, everyone.